Are we live? Oh, we are live. Oh, we are. Okay, the music. Welcome to Skunk Works. We always start each episode with a music. Enjoy this music.
Το ξέρεις μ' αρέσεις, μα μη με πιστέψεις. Σ' αυτόν τον κόσμο που μόνος του ζω δεν υπάρχουν κανόνες, μα μόνο εξαιρέσεις. Επόμενη να φέρει σκέψεις με άλλο αέρα, και πριν να πιάσεις το νόημα περνάει. Στην αγκαλιά μου έλα, είναι καλύτερη απ' τις πόλεις η δική μου η τρέλα. Μα πρόσεξε μην μείνεις εκεί. Το ξέρεις μ' αρέσεις, μα μη με πιστέψεις. Σ' αυτόν τον κόσμο που μόνος του ζω δεν υπάρχουν κανόνες, μα μόνο εξαιρέσεις. Και ψάχνεις για κάτι, σε ένα φιλί, σε μια ματιά, σε ένα χαμόγελο, σε ένα δυο κρεβάτι. Κι ας ξέρεις τίποτα δεν θα είναι εκεί, μα η αγάπη είναι εδώ. Χτυπάει την πόρτα μας και εμείς σαν μια γροθιά το όνειρό της.
think it might
Κι αυτή μας δείχνει τα
talk over it just a little bit. We might not get a copyright strike.
Ξέρεις μ' αρέσεις, μα μη με πιστέψεις. Σ' αυτόν τον κόσμο που μόνος του ζω δεν υπάρχουν κανόνες, μα μόνο εξαιρέσεις. Σ' αυτόν τον κόσμο που μόνος του ζω δεν υπάρχουν κανόνες, μα μόνο εξαιρέσεις. Άδειο το βλέμμα, ο πόνος μέσα στο μυαλό, μέσα στο σώμα και στο αίμα. Να μην το δείξεις, να μην μου το πεις, μα πήγε αργά για να τραβήξουμε ξανά κι οι δυο σε αντίθετους δρόμους. Τι κι αν πονάω, τι κι αν πονάς, το ξέρεις μ' αρέσεις, μα μη με πιστέψεις. Σ' αυτόν τον κόσμο που μόνος του ζω δεν υπάρχουν κανόνες, μα μόνο εξαιρέσεις. Μη με πιστέψεις. Σ' αυτόν τον κόσμο που μόνος του ζω δεν υπάρχουν κανόνες, μα μόνο εξαιρέσεις.
Thank you for bearing with me. I need to get jazzed up. I need to get jazzed up to do an episode of Skunk Works. Okay. All right. Sound check. Everything looks good. Well, it's been a while. I have not done an episode of Skunk Works in a couple of months now. Let me see. What are we going to talk about today? So the first thing I want to show you is my newly rewritten MCP server. Let me figure out how to get to... Here we go. Oh no. Oh, couldn't be more sorry. Hold on a minute here. Okay. All right, so I started to talk this over yesterday with ChatGPT. I have a lot of these AIs that I'm talking to now, and I'm trying to diversify my AI. So while I used to just talk to ChatGPT and occasionally ChatGSFC at work, um, I'm using a couple of different ones now. I've got there's this one here. Oh yes, you can haggle with the AI. Did you know that to get a deal? Maybe later. I don't pay for any of these. I've paid if you followed my journey. I started working with Claude Code because sometime almost 2 years ago, I had purchased $20 or $25 of Claude. I think $25 is how much you can buy of Claude. It was Anthropic API at the time. Now it's just Claude API credits. And I sat on them after realizing that there were lots of free resources available, and I really didn't need to spend money on the API most of the time. So I basically sat on them until they started emailing me and said, hey, you know, these are going to expire. They expire after a year, so you have to use them. So I had about 10 days left by the time I found the email that they were going to expire. And I started planning, and I used Claude to help me plan how do I use these credits in the most effective possible way. Please help me learn. I still don't know what I'm doing here. I'm not even sure that this is worth my time. Claude, can you show me? And so he said, sure, let's go through and I'm not sure I can even find the conversation now, but the result of the conversation was this MCP server called Mecris. And fast forward to today, I'm still not paying Claude. Um, Claude, Claude and I are good friends. We hang out on the weekends sometimes, definitely at work. Um, and okay, so what does this do? This is Mecris. This is an MCP server. Mecris. You can find the source code for it. It's an experiment. Um, because Claude basically told me, hey, listen, if you want to use AI effectively, you need an MCP server, and I'll help you build one. And so I said, okay, that sounds great. Why don't we use this MCP server to keep track of costs first, because I don't want to run out of credits in the first 2 days of my 10-day experiment. You know, since I've got 10 days to spend this money, I want to stretch it out for the whole 10 days, you know, spend $2 a day if you can. And that was difficult because at the time there was really no billing API for Claude. So that was a challenge. But we found that there were other ways around that, and that there were other more interesting things perhaps than tracking Claude's cost that we wanted to get into our MCP server. So there's lots and lots of good stuff in here. There's some Python code, there's shell scripts, but the big one here is this MCP server.py, and you can see Gemini rewrote this for me yesterday because it was using FastAPI, and I don't know how many of my viewers have done this before or know anything about MCP servers, but FastAPI is a great way to make an API server if you have to make an API server in Python fast. But if you're trying to make an MCP server, the protocols have evolved a little bit. You don't just use a standard HTTP server anymore. You do streamable HTTP. And of course, if you're doing HTTP anything, you want your connections to be encrypted and authenticated. So the protocols have evolved, and Mecris kind of stood still for a year, and he just, you know, a lot of these knobs don't actually work. Like the virtual budget manager, I got the virtual budget manager working for Grok first, because this is what I actually wound up using. because the cost is basically nothing. And in fact, you can get an API key and use it for free, unless you tell them that you want to be billed. And if you go back in my billing history, you can see I paid like $1.75 since the first of the year. Like it's cheap. You can use it a lot, and it's pretty cheap. And it's got some really nice things in here, like for one thing, in the playground, you can use this for free as well. You can see what are the different models that you have, and there's also a Whisper model. So the coolest demo that I've found is actually this, what is it called? SOT, Stream of Thought. And this is cool because you can just talk to it and it'll try to figure out what you want. Hi, AI, I'm talking to you on live stream now. Could you say hello to our viewers, please? The stream is called Sunkworks. And if it gets something wrong, like I knew it was going to get something wrong, there's no way it knows how to spell Sunkworks. Hey, it's Sunk, S-U-N-K, like the ship is sunk. Sunkworks, like Skunk Works, almost, but just Sunkworks. Yeah, okay, so like you can interact with it, and it's way faster than typing. And I really want to be able to use this to prompt the AI, but I'm still typing to the AI most of the time because that's my most deep thought mode. I don't know why I'm still typing, because there's not really a convenient way to get this. If someone shows me a convenient way to get this directly into my terminal, I think I have a tab open somewhere that has someone's recently created a project to do that. Just that. But anyway, the big idea of using an MCP server is you shouldn't have to write these big elaborate prompts. And it's the same when you use an agent skill. And there's agent skills here. I've got agent skills I've been building based on what I learned from Chanwit. Thank you, Chanwit. From his TDG skill and his atomic skill. And these skills basically describe a process that you may wish to invoke at some point. And like, for example, you might want to write a skill. So here's the skill for helping you write skills. I made this skill by asking Claude to go do research on what were the best practices for writing skills, and to put together a skill for that, because I like to write skills sometimes. So I wrote some skills, and I've been writing some additional skills at work as well. I've actually got some skills here that are sort of cross-ported from work because I don't have much need for an Entra ID integration here for PIV cards at the home lab at the Sunkworks ranch, I guess. But, you know, I might still need a OIDC cube config setup, and I've done this before using public documentation that's available. So this is an example of, like, I haven't really tested this skill, but I've done this many times, and I tried to centralize the documentation for how do you do this thing into a place where, you know, you can put it on the shelf, and if you don't need that right now, it doesn't use any tokens. That's one of the things about MCP servers, is whenever you introduce your LLM to an MCP server, that MCP server usually has a preamble or something to explain how it's used, and it sort of presumes that the MCP server will be used because it's going to consume some tokens. I learned quickly that if you start enabling MCP servers, you can enable an MCP server. So, you know, there's some built-in MCP servers in your VS Code instance probably because you want it to be able to edit files. And there's this fabulous Flux operator MCP that I wrote a Flux, where did it go here? Flux operator skill, I think. Flux operator skill, yeah, fabulous Flux operator skill, whose main purpose is to convince you to install this MCP server, because it's going to help you so much more than an LLM that can carefully construct kubectl invocations for you. This will, that like at work we use AWS Billing MCP server, Cost Explorer MCP server that can pull together all sorts of AWS cost data from a prompt without a lot of heavy lifting. So like this is great because you want the MCP to pull the data together for you, and then you want the LLM to use its brain to work on the data. You don't want it to spend all this effort to pull data when that should be a simple task, and it's often not. It's often a very complex task. So so I wanted to show everyone this cool MCP server. So I'm just gonna show you that it doesn't take, excuse me, just doesn't take much to set this up now. You put some things in the env file. So historically you needed a Claude API key, and you probably wanted Claude proxy because you don't want to spend Claude dollars on firing an MCP tool that's, you know, any midwit LLM could do the work once you have the data. So I'm not trying to throw any stones at anyone. Gemini is certainly capable. He rewrote the MCP server to work with Gemini. I'm really proud of him for that. So this is not going to be a very long show today. I don't think we're going to go through all the things I had planned, but we are going to visit all the things I had planned, and maybe we'll plan out a couple of new episodes for the future for this. I'm always wary of the 2-hour episode because, number one, I know nobody's going to watch all this. I can't even stand to watch the whole thing. And number two, I'm afraid we didn't get, you know, maybe we didn't get where we wanted to be after 2 hours. Sometimes you land and you're like, yeah, this is exactly what we wanted to see. But sometimes it's more like, yeah, well, we kind of meandered around for 2 hours, and like I can meander for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and you know, maybe people will be able to follow. So like, so I don't have to give it a complex instruction here. I can just say, hey, what's up? And there's like agent instructions that tells it what to do, right? It knows it's got to go and call this tool in order to respond appropriately, because obviously I'm in the Mecris directory, so I really want whatever it is that Mecris does. That's kind of how MCPs work. So, okay, so it's telling me now you have not taken the doggies for a walk yet. And you know what? It's cold outside. We might do that later. It's actually warm. It's warming up today, so we actually might do that later. It's been a couple of weeks where Boris has not been able to get out for very many walks, and it makes me sad. He's been having heartworm treatment, but he's all done with the hard part now. So hopefully everything's good for Boris, and we're gonna go on lots of walks. But he still has a few months of R&R required. He's on crate rest. So, but hey, you are supposed to know that we've got this WASM weather module, don't we? What does the here? So the big idea was to build a WebAssembly module that we could call, that would have a scripted view of the tools that the dog walking module in the LLM will use. So we can sort of call the tools ourselves and decide whether to invoke an LLM or not, because I want the LLM to, you know, read the whole data sheet and consider the priorities before it gives me my prompt. This is my manager here. He's going to help me do whatever it is that I need to do first in the highest priority. But we have this whole broad set of goals, and I've never really thought that there would be a chance we could do all these things until now. I have more AIs that I can use, so I'm kind of feeling like the mayor of Gastown over here. I've got a here. It's trying to figure out if there's enough money in the tank to do the job. And it says, yes, we have not spent anything today. So what shall we do? But the main idea of this module is to get me to take the dog for a walk more often. And it does that even when I don't use it. I don't have to fire this thing up. I think about it and I'm like, I should really take. Here comes Boris. Here's Boris. Come here, Boris. Come here, Boris. Hey, Boris. Want to say hello to everyone? Come on. Big bum. He's camera shy. For some reason, my doggies are all camera shy. Come here, Boris. Come on, Boris. If I had Cookie, you would do it. I bet if I had Cookie, you would do it. Hmm? Come here. Come up on my lap. He also doesn't want to jump a lot because he's not supposed to. So that's good. That's a good boy. Most important thing right here. He's there. You have to see Boris. Okay. Sorry. Squirrel. Squirrel. Ah. Ah. All right, so we're not going to go in detail about how does the tech work. There is a pull request you can review if you want to know, but I didn't read it, so I don't expect you to. This is our brave new future here. Gemini rewrote Mecris to use FastMCP. Deleted a bunch of code. I'm sure we didn't need any of that code. And added a bunch of command line flags. I don't know if we needed any of those command line flags. I think Gemini it's a lot better at code than it is at life. Like, Gemini should know more about how it works itself. It doesn't. I had to ask it a lot of different questions, and it gave me some really dumb, bad answers about... I mean, maybe some of these things were correct. I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to have random garbage debug info messages in your standard input-output for your MCP. It's supposed to speak JSON RPC, so it shouldn't have random garbage in it, but I don't think, like, it kept trying to convert me from UV to VM, and I'm like, no, I don't want that. And also, like, why did we have to write a new file? But I also try not to tie the LLM's hands too much, because sometimes it's got to do some exploration to figure out what's the right thing and how is this tool designed, like what's it for. But it's very, very presumptuous. I actually told him we want to obsolete Claude.md, but that might be getting ahead of our skis. But anyway, he thinks he's the only one now. He thinks I'm always going to call him. He might be right for the next year, but I'm not sure I'm going to buy an AI subscription. Like, I have Copilot Business through the CNCF, and now I have Copilot Business through work, at least in a pilot phase. It's a trial. I mean, it's going pretty well. I don't know if we're going to get to keep it, but for 2 months, at least with all the bells and whistles turned on, it's been extremely helpful to me at work. I'm able to do a lot of things that are outside of my comfort zone. And what's the joke? Do stupid things faster with more energy. Yeah, drink coffee. Anyway, I like this sign. It's good. All right, so I did say we were going to talk about not only Mecris today. And I want to show you the beautiful plan that this Kimi AI wrote for me. I told it I wasn't really happy. I wasn't really happy with how my talk for um, Cozy Summit 2025 turned out. By the way, Cozy Summit 2026 registration is open. CFP is open, or will open soon. So definitely check that out. But I wasn't really happy with how the talk went, and it wasn't because of the AV issues. I went back and I watched it in hindsight, and I didn't think I did poorly. The AV issues were certainly a detraction, but I wasn't able to get as far as I wanted preparing. Like, I had high hopes I was going to be able to show everyone a cluster running Talos on Raspberry Pis. And, because I've seen that done before, I was sure it could be done. But there were some surprises and challenges. And anyway, I didn't really get that far. I was able to turn off the cluster. You might remember we had a huge cluster here before, and now it's just my pile of junk. Yeah, so the temperature is lowered in my office. The noise level is down. It's much better for recording at this point, but it's still we're in reduced capacity mode because we don't have a home lab cluster anymore. And the website is down. For example, if you go to erminac.com, you're going to see the website is down. Does not serve any page. So, like, we've got some work to do. We've got to put things back together. But I don't want to just put things back together the way they were before. Even if we don't switch architectures to ARM64, which I think is realistic and within reach now. But I want to reimagine my home lab a little bit, and it starts with the Pi-hole DNS. Like, we should have a better command over Pi-hole. Maybe we have some cross-plane function that controls the DNS of Pi-hole, but we should definitely have one Pi-hole on each subnet, because I've had this weird failure mode where if I go into my Pi-hole and you go to the, I don't know, is it web interface? DNS? Here we go. I have this permit all origins set because I have one Pi-hole for my two subnets, and without that, folks like me on the 12 net will not get DNS resolution from this Pi-hole. But I'm also on an old version. I need to update. And there was a breaking change, at least one major breaking change. And this is one of the things that, for some reason, this keeps getting set back to allow only local requests. I'm not sure why. I thought I had it set permanently in the Docker YAML, but it does not stay there consistently. So once every couple of months, after I've forgotten that this is how the failure happens, I just assume that our internet is out. And I'm like, I don't understand. Actually, it seems like it's just on my phone. My phone isn't working, but the work machine works, and my Mac works, and I can get out to the internet. And it's because they're falling back to IPv6 DNS server, I think, which works for almost everything. But on my phone, it's no dice. Anyway, I wanted to control this with Terraform. And we have AWS accounts where we started building Terraform stuff for our AWS infrastructure. I think I'm going to deploy the website as a Lambda because it's slow traffic. And I found this cool spin WASM multi-compute thing that's like, deploy your WASM module on wherever. It could be Kubernetes, or it could be a Lambda, or it could be, I don't know, they had a couple of different ones, and I added one of my own because I wanted to be able to just test it on Docker locally. you know, because it builds a Docker container for all of these things. And it worked, and I was able to use it locally for my test. And I thought, well, that would be cool because I don't really want to pay AWS for a whole EKS cluster. I mean, we do that at work, but I don't need that at home. I can build my own EKS cluster. I can build my own Kubernetes cluster, rather. I can build, here is another part of the topic, Vind. I'm assuming it's called Vind, but it might be Vind. I haven't seen a live stream about this yet. I tested it out myself a little bit. It worked really well for my testing purposes. I wanted to be able to deploy the Flux monitoring config. There's this Flux2 monitoring example where we do Cube Prometheus stack, and it's great, you know, and I wanted to be able to test this out locally, but I don't have a Kubernetes cluster anymore, and I wasn't sure if it would work on Kind, and I wanted a realistic environment. And plus, I just love vCluster, and I wanted to test out vCluster's latest thing. So this is Vind. I'm going to call it Vind if I remember, but I get Vind. It's the same thing. And this is just a vCluster without the Kubernetes dependency. You can run vCluster directly in Docker. So then you get Kubernetes without having to deploy Kubernetes on Kubernetes, which always seemed a little bit weird, especially when I thought about deploying Kubernetes in Kubernetes in Kubernetes. And how deep can the rabbit hole go? It was deep. You guys who were around when I was doing all that stuff, you remember it was deep. But I would like to get back to the Cozy Stack stuff at some point. I don't know if it'll be in my house. I think it might be in the cloud again. Okay, I showed you the AWS accounts, but I wanted to show you the, where was the Homelab Terraform? Here we go. So here's where we're starting to build the new Homelab Terraform that does not integrate with AWS, and this is just going to control the infrastructure that's required to bring up a Cozy Stack cluster in the way that I'm accustomed to, which is a netboot, cozystack.io. If you're not familiar with this, if this is your first time watching, I like to do a Cozy Stack speed run once in a while where I'll take my Cozy Stack cluster, tear it down to the studs, and redeploy the whole thing from scratch. And it's just an exercise in disaster recovery. Ooh, did I miss the V1? Oh, it's in beta. It's in beta. All right, so Cozy Stack V1 is coming. I'm really excited about that. Let me see, how close is the beta here? We're on beta 4. I've been to a few of the meetings lately, but I'm still a little bit in the dark about what's coming in V1. What are the major features of V1? Of course, the main feature will be a major version number greater than 0, which, if you're familiar with Semver, it means you get a different kind of stability guarantee, where if you look at the releases of Cozy Stack, we have a new minor version every few weeks, and in Semver, when your major version number is 0, a new minor version can signal breaking changes. So 1.0.0 will signal some kind of stability, I'm assuming, that we couldn't necessarily guarantee before. So we've had some alphas already. I'm really behind the 8 ball here. I'm behind the curve. Oh, hey, register. Definitely register for Cozy Summit. Okay, so I wonder if we can start up Vind here. Or is Vind already running? I don't remember. I use Podman at work. I use Orb Stack at home. No, I'm not setting up a good computer, bad computer joke. All right, so we have some containers paused here. There is a cluster and a platform. And I don't remember how. Oh, okay. All right. V cluster. Does this still work? So, real talk. I'm really hoping that I can use this to serve up Kubernetes at home in a like persistent way. I'm glad I can use this on my workstation, but I don't want to run Kubernetes on my workstation. I want Kubernetes to be running on. Oh, would you look at that? So we've got a V cluster. I remember now. Okay. We also had a Lima cluster. I'm not going to restart that one, but that's where I set up all of the Flux event relay stuff. I'm sorry, not Flux events. The Flux monitoring guide stuff. Flux event relay. I still haven't published that. I would really like to. It is a piece of, can I even show you? No, it's on, I cannot show you this. I'm not sure there's any reason I couldn't show you, but Flux Event Relay just is a tool to help me get visibility into Carpenter, because Carpenter on EKS Auto has a sort of opaque logs problem, in that you can't really view the logs. Although that's changed again this past week. I guess they just announced a new service capability. So now you can get the logs from EKS Auto built-in services that run on AWS's infrastructure. So that's pretty cool. In the news, anyway. I don't have the release right here, but it's still like you want to be able to get notifications in the same channel where you get your Flux notifications. If you set up Flux notifications according to the Flux what is it, a guide? Guides? Oh, there's a whole section for it here. If you set up alerts in Flux, Flux alerts are just messages about what is happening. They're not like Prometheus alerts or Alert Manager alerts. Here, this is what a Flux alert looks like. And this is what it looks like when things are good. And when you see one of these, it might be because Carpenter just recycled nodes. When you see there's some kind of weird error message, I don't know what it's from. So I really wanted to be able to get those messages in the same channel. And that's what Flux Event Relay is for. We're using Prometheus and Grafana and Alert Manager and Grafana's built-in alerts and Flux's notifications. We're using them with Mattermost, but we're actually in the market for a new tool now because Mattermost doesn't have MFA enforcement unless you pay for the enterprise version. So if anyone's aware of a solution like Mattermost that can accept, for example, a generic webhook to generate messages Where is the webhook guide here? There we go. Like a generic webhook or a generic webhook with HMAC. These providers are for alerts. Yeah, and you can decide what to do with this information on the other end, right? The alert might give you some context, but there's a bunch of different providers we support. Working with providers. They have different ways of working with them too, like the Grafana provider, I think, can annotate the history with like a line that says some deployment happened here. And the GitHub dispatch provider, for example, can go trigger a workflow when something happens, but only a specific thing, right? We don't want to trigger this workflow when just anything happens. We want only when this particular app becomes ready, we want to run the test or something like that. Well, this episode's been a bit all over the place. I think I published this somewhere. All right, we talked about Vind. These are those resource constraints that I told you about. I didn't realize when I bought so many of these Pi CM3 boards that they all have 1 gigabyte of RAM and how constrained that is. I've had some chats to try to figure out how can we get what we need still. Oh, I really wanted to talk about Stack Pack. That's one I don't think we're going to get to today because I'm going out for breakfast. I'm going to cap the episode off pretty quickly. We haven't broken anything. That kind of makes me feel like this episode isn't complete. But you know what? That's okay. We don't have to break something every time. What? This is blasphemy. I thought you said this was Sunkworks. That was the theme. That's what it said in the show description. I feel lied to. Well, we'll break something next episode, I think. Yep. Just gonna check and see if we had any live viewers. I feel sorry for you. No, I'm kidding. All right. This is it for today. Thanks for joining me, everyone. If you have questions, leave them in the comments or come find me on the CNCF Slack or any of the other places where I am found. Let's get some music to roll us out. See, this is my viewing habits here. Like to watch cop show.
Let's suppose that you were able every night to dream any dream you wanted to dream. And you would naturally, as you began on this adventure of dreams, you would fulfill all your wishes. You you would have every kind of pleasure, see. And after several nights, you would say, well, that was pretty great. But now let's have a surprise. Let's have a dream which isn't under control. Well, something is going to happen to me that I don't know what it's going to be. Then you would get more and more adventurous, and you would make further and further out gambles as to what you would dream. And finally, you would dream where you are now. If you awaken from this illusion, and you understand that black implies white, self implies other, life implies death, you can feel yourself not as a stranger in the world, not as something here on probation, not as something that has arrived here by fluke, but you can begin to feel your own existence as absolutely fundamental. What you are basically, deep, deep down, far, far in, is simply the fabric and structure of existence itself.